Hey everybody, my name's Shaun Belding and welcome to Navigate the Nasties, brought to you from lovely downtown McLaren's Landing, Ontario. Navigate the Nasties is about strategies for dealing with difficult people and situations. It's also for strategies for success at home and at work. And I'm live streaming this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12:20 Eastern Time. So make sure you subscribe so that you can get the reminders on it. And I'd love to hear any comments that you have, any thoughts, any suggestions on things that could come up. I have to thank you so much. I've had so many people send me emails and tweets just to talk to me about this, and it's been absolutely fantastic. So thanks so much. Once we're done here, it will be available on the YouTube channel, so you can look at it again there. You can tell other people about it on the channel. And there's an audio version that will be available in a podcast form just as soon as we figure out how to get this into a podcast form. It's really not going to be that hard. It's just a matter of time. Whoever thought that I'd be running out of time in days like today? Today's topic is 3 words and phrases that keep you from succeeding. And this one's really near and dear to my heart. I've spent so much of my life around successful people. I have met so many people that were so good at what they do and successful in so many different ways. So we're going to talk about success and the things that we can do unintentionally that can really severely compromise our ability to succeed. And when I talk about success, I'm not talking about necessarily climbing a corporate ladder. I'm talking about success in general, the way you think of success. Being successful for each of us is different, isn't it? It may be being a successful parent, or being a successful teacher is what's important to you, is how you define your success. You can define success in terms of your integrity or your contributions or your personal wellness or your financial wellness. There's no right or wrong way, of course, to define success. But there are some commonalities to it, and that's what I want to talk about today. And to give you some ideas on things that perhaps you should maybe try to avoid that may compromise that success. One thing that all successful people do have in common, again, regardless of how they choose to define success, is their ability to create close ties with people, their ability to create connections with people. And that's a really important concept to know, because our ability to communicate, our ability to connect with other people plays a huge role in our success. It's really kind of a sad irony when you think about it that we are living at the moment in an age that will be remembered for the phrase social distancing. Now more than ever, we need to hone our communication skills, because as we're increasing our physical distance, the ability to communicate is what will keep us connected. It's what will allow us to close the gap again, both emotionally and intellectually. So this is where our communication skills are so important. So building connections, I mean, this is what I and my company have been doing for a whole long time now. Customer service and leadership and workplace culture, resilience, these are all about attitudes and our mindsets and our skill sets. So it's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this. But over the years, I have, and perhaps you have too, I've seen people who had tremendous potential, amazing potential, but never achieve that potential. They never quite get there. People they're well-meaning, they're motivated, they're intelligent, they're educated, they're knowledgeable, but they just seem to sabotage themselves. And I'm sure you may have met people that are like that. I've just lived long enough that I've seen far more than I'd ever want to. But so often what's happening is simply, really, it's a matter of the words that they've chosen, the way that they choose to interact with people. The late Dr. George Thompson was the founder of verbal judo techniques, and he created these to help police and military type people learn how to diffuse conflict without using force. Verbal judo was awesome, and it was the inspiration for our company's Talk Judo programs, which are business focused, and they're designed to help people in business deal with difficult customers, difficult situations, difficult employees, and the strategies, the techniques are are wonderful. But one of my favorite quotes of Dr. Thompson was, you need to understand, when it comes to language, you need to understand that if it feels good to say, it's not good to say. That's a good likely chance it's not good to say. And he's absolutely right, because so often we speak responsively. The words that come out of our mouth don't go through a whole lot of filters. They're not really strategically placed, and they can get us into trouble. So today, I'm going to share with you 3 words and phrases that can really have a negative impact on you, and you really should avoid them. And you're going to recognize all of them, because I'm guessing that you, like everybody else, has used these words at least once. I know I'm guilty of them, and I teach this stuff, and there's times I still fall victim to those kinds of habits. So I hope you enjoy these as much as I do, and I hope you can manage to stay away from them. So the first one that's in here is this one. Like I told you before. We say this all the time. We hear it all the time. You say to your spouse, hey, well, where do we keep the shoe polish? And your spouse says, like I told you before, it's in the same place as the shoes. Those types of things. Or, I think we should bring Suzanne into the conversation. Like I told you before, Suzanne's not involved in this project. Or, can I get a refund on this item? Like I told you before, Mr. Smith, we don't give refunds. We've all heard that. We've heard this. And these are, like I told you before, is a great example of invisible language. Right? These are words and phrases that you don't actually say out loud, but it's what people hear, 100%. In this case, when you say like I told you before, the invisible language, the invisible word in there is idiot. You might as well just say it out loud, because that's really the message that comes out loud and clear to the person you say it to. If anybody can tell me of one single positive outcome to the phrase, like I told you before, I would love to hear it, because as far as I know, it only serves 2 purposes. Number 1, the first purpose is to make somebody feel like an idiot. It's just to let somebody know how stupid they really are, and kind of let that out there. That's the first one. That's tremendously counterproductive. I can't imagine any positive outcome of just making somebody feel stupid. The second outcome of saying, like I told you before, is the second purpose might be because it gives you an opportunity to vent. You know, you're frustrated, you got to vent. You get to vent your frustrations. Well, you know what? That's not productive either. If you need to vent, that's what you go home for, and you can go lock yourself in the bathroom and vent all you want to the whatever's in the bathroom with you, but not in front of the people that you're looking for, because that just will work against you. Whatever the case, I guess the thing is, if you're repeating yourself, maybe the other person didn't hear it the first time. Maybe they forgot. Some of us do that from time to time. We forget stuff. Maybe they misunderstood. Maybe, just maybe, you didn't say it to them before, but you thought you did. It's something that was running through your head but never came out of your mouth. Whatever the case is, there's just no purpose in saying like I told you before. And even there will be times where you find yourself in a situation where perhaps you have to remind somebody that you're revisiting a previous discussion, sometimes because you're covering your butt, or that sort of a thing where you just want to make sure that that's on the record. There's still a better and more productive approach for it. So as an example, imagine you have a customer that isn't happy, and the customer says, this device broke in just 2 weeks. So you could say, like I told you before, it wasn't designed for the heavy loads that you're putting on it. Could say that. Idiot, right? Might as well just say idiot out loud. Or you could say something like, yes, it doesn't really surprise me. That's why I was recommending that heavier duty unit version of this, because even though the cost was a little bit more, the benefit long term was going to be greater. So what you've done, instead of just telling somebody they're an idiot, what you've really done is validating your previous recommendation and reinforcing your previous recommendation. So if you do have to, again, say it for a purpose, for a strategic purpose, like you want to cover your hind end in a situation, you're far better using that type of language than just saying, like I told you before. In the next one, so the next word, sorry, that's like I told you before. Again, if you can think of a single positive use for, like I told you before, other than just to make yourself feel good and vent your frustration, or to make somebody feel like an idiot if you seem to think that that's valuable, but it's really not, particularly when we're trying to build connections. Send me an email, drop a note at the bottom of this video. It would be, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to listen to it. The next one is the word actually. Actually, this one sounds kind of weird, but think about this for a second. We have Susan. Susan says, I think I'd like to try the Riesling. And Fred, who's sitting with her, says, actually, it's Riesling. Or Susan says, I really like this new Zip 42 computer. It's like really, really fast. I want to get this. Fred says, actually, it's not that good compared to the other new ones that are out there. That's what I mean by actually. When you use actually at the beginning of a sentence, so this, just to make this clear, this is the word actually as the first word in a sentence you're saying. It's probably okay for the most part within a sentence, but in the first word, when you say at the beginning of a sentence, it's almost always a very bad thing, because inevitably it's followed by you correcting somebody. And people just love to be corrected, don't they? They really do. And sadly, there's some of us that really love to correct other people, and then we wonder why perhaps we don't get along out there. You might as well really, again, just go about and just say the word idiot afterwards. Actually, there's a lot ones that are better out there. Idiot. Because that's what people are going to hear. Now, if you're a bit of a contrarian, perhaps, you may struggle with this. If you enjoy playing the devil's advocate, you may enjoy not using, or may not enjoy, my apologies, you may struggle with not saying the word actually at the beginning of a sentence because you see it as a positive thing. You're trying to make sure things are right. You're trying to make sure things are objective. I struggled with it, I have to be honest, at first, because I come from a family that would, in many ways, always question the status quo. We were always didn't want to fall victim to sort of just buying into things just because everybody else is buying into it. We were always taught to look for other alternatives, to make sure that we were being rational, that we were being sensible, that we were being objective about things. So we always question things, and it took me a long time to learn to stop correcting people, to stop trying to play that devil's advocate. I thought it was a great idea. It turns out it really isn't. And so I kind of had to learn that the hard way. What you don't want to do when you say the word actually, so somebody says something to you, you're in a meeting with somebody, it can just be in your personal world, you're with somebody. If you say the word actually, you start off with actually, you need to catch yourself, because what you never want to do is get the reputation as that person that pushes back on everything. It's that, I'm going to say something and Bob over there is just going to shoot it down. You don't want to be that person who just has that reputation for shooting things down, because nobody's going to want to hang around you. Why would they want to hang around with that person that's just going to shoot them down all the time? So far, so good. Makes sense. Good. The next one, the last one of these three, is actually the word idiot, actually. And that is the only thing worse than implying that somebody's an idiot is to actually call them an idiot. And sadly, that seems to happen a lot more these days than it used to. I don't know if any of you have noticed that. But it just seems that, have you noticed that it seems that people seem to be getting more comfortable being judgmental about other people? And you'll hear them say, particularly if you're on something like Twitter, you can say, oh, this is an idiot. What idiot thought this up? Oh, Betty's an idiot. Fred is an idiot. I mean, we see that all the time. And people use these kind of pompous proclamations in their Twitter feeds, and we hear people do it in real life. I mean, where does it come from? Where's this it's a bizarre need to trash the people around us. Like, I don't know where it's coming from. Maybe it's the over-the-top reality TV shows. Maybe it's that we're just so used to people who have in some ways almost made rudeness fashionable in some way. Maybe it's just our ways of making ourselves feel powerful by knocking somebody over. I don't know what it is, but if you watch reality TV, and certainly most of us have, maybe all of us have at some point watched reality TV. I'm not trying to knock it, but if we watch it, it would be it would certainly seem that being harsh is a positive thing, that being direct, that calling people out on things is a really positive thing. But folks, that is not the case. Despite what you might believe, despite what you see on TV, despite what might make a chef successful or those sorts of things on reality TV, that's not the case in real life. So there's this powerful exercise that we do in our internal customer service training programs. And part of it is we ask people to think about, to come up with who they might consider to be a role model. So an individual that exhibits characteristics that they might aspire to. Somebody that if someone were to come up to you and say, wow, you know, you really remind me of so-and-so, that would be a huge compliment. So we ask people to come up with some names. And some of the names that come up virtually every time, regardless of where we are, regardless of what country we're in, what kind of organization we're working with, are some of the common ones. You can imagine what they are. They're probably the names that are popping into your head right now. Names like Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey comes up a lot, Warren Buffett. And these are really common denominators. When we ask why, that's part of the exercise at the end. We say, so why did you pick this person? The reasons that come up, there are two common elements to the reasons why they come up. The first one is their compassion. That's one of the things they have in common. And the second one is that these are people who have made a positive difference to the people around them, in many cases to the world around them. These are people who champion change, the people that look for the best in others and try to give the best they had. So it sounds kind of a contradictory, doesn't it, that we're drawn to on television, these larger-than-life characters, but the people that we really admire, the people that we look at as having characteristics that we admire, are exactly the opposite. These are people that have championed these very positive things. Now, don't get me wrong, these same people, Mother Teresa and Martin Luther King, may have challenged people's belief structures, they may have challenged people's policies, and they may have challenged people's politics, but they were above running around calling people's names. Where they, can you imagine Mother Teresa standing up and saying, what kind of an idiot did this? I don't think she did that. I could be wrong, I wasn't there, but I don't think she did that. Think of the people that you think of as your role models, the people in your life, people that you look up to in your own life right now, the people that have been mentors to you perhaps. How many of them make a practice of bad-mouthing the people around them? Well, they don't. They don't. The thing is that if you start calling people names, if you start calling an idiot, there's a lot of people that don't want to be around you. If you're really interested in building your network and strengthening your ability to connect with people, the people around you, you have to lose the judgmental commentary, because nobody wants to be around you. Nobody wants to be around that person that they are afraid is constantly judging them. That's just not fun. People don't like that. So take a tip from the world's greatest role models and just focus on making a positive difference and losing that sort of negative language, that negative talk about other people. That there's an ancient saying that I learned when I was a kid, you probably did too, which is if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. And who knew? It's true. It's still true in today's age. That's it. We're done for the day. Make sure you check into my next episode. That's going to be 4 rules for making a great first impression. And we'll talk a little bit about why that's important. It really is. But we'll talk about 4 rules on making a great first impression on people, why that's important. And make sure when you're finished here, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. You'll get the updates on the upcoming episodes. Love to have you. If you have any thoughts, any comments, and ideas, reach out to me on Twitter. You can reach out to me in the comments section in this feed. On LinkedIn, you can reach me on email. Man, there's a million ways. I would love to hear from you. Until the next time, stay safe, stay sane, and keep making a difference out there. Thanks for joining me. Take care.